Brett right behind you.
Good evening and welcome to tonight's school committee meeting on Tuesday, November 20th, 2018. It is 7 o'clock. We are being recorded for, wait a minute, hang on.
Future broadcast?
We're being recorded for future broadcasts and, we're being recorded live and for future broadcasts. We will now have the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America,
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do not have a student representative, so we will get right into public comment and communication. Anybody have anything they want to talk about? Seeing no, old business? New business? And we'll go straight to the superintendent's report.
Thank you. So I'll have Mr. Romano join us as he's going to talk about the Adams Scholars and
the Adams Scholar, the John and Abigail Adams Scholarship is presented to students in the senior class who achieved an advanced score on all three MCAS tests, in the math, English, and their science tests that they take. And are also in the top 20% of their class in terms of MCAS scores. This year's class of 2019 recipients, they receive 100% tuition paid at any state college. So it can vary in terms of the value of it based on with their community college, $1,800 or so, up to about $5,000 to $6,000 at UMass. And even if they're not going to go to a Massachusetts public college or university, it still looks pretty great on their resume and their college applications and everything else. And this year's Adams Scholars, they are right there, most of them anyway. Hans Alvarez, Tiana Basim, Natalie Champagne, Valdez Clark, Daniela Damasio, Ryan Dixon, J.T. Fellman, Sarah Finnegan, Justin Fleming, Olivia Galbranson, Aiden Gordon, Maureen Grady, Alexa Gresham, Devin Hare, Sarah Happy, Ethan Harper, Emma Havalati, Bryn Hurley, James Kay, Jenna Keeman, Ryan Kuzer, Nick Lyford, Katrina Morton, Julia Pepka, Justin Smith, Abigail Sullivan, and Nick Turney. That is our class of 2019 Adams Scholars.
congratulations to them.
Yes.
Very proud. And they've already received their letters and
They have.
all the information with the guidance department.
Yep.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next thing I have on there is just a quick announcement for the general public, as we've hit the bad weather season earlier than anticipated. I thought I would just try to make clear the process that we undertake in order to make sure that we're doing the right thing with regards to student, staff, safety. So the process basically is this: we do a thorough review of 5 different weather services. We have WBZ, WCVB, the Weather Channel, Fox 25, and the National,
Oceanic
NOAA.
Atmospheric Association.
There you go. So we use all of those. We look at all of those sources to get a gauge as to the severity of the storm. I mentioned previously the Blackstone Valley Superintendents Consortium. Well, we all are linked in there, so there's communication going on quite a bit back and forth between superintendents in the area as to their thoughts. I speak directly with Mr. Furno probably a couple of times regarding the streets and their passability. Have they been plowed? Have they been cleared? He would never allow us to do anything unless all the streets and sidewalks were cleared. I speak directly with Jeff Collette, who is usually on site at the buildings to make sure that all the stairwells are cleared, all the walkways have been sanded and salted, and that getting in and out of the building is safe. As you know, the DPW clears all of the parking lots. They sand and salt the access roads and so forth. So that's that process. Then I have on almost all occasions, last time I did not, contact the Douglas Police Department as well. Give a phone call to them. How's the traffic going so far? Any concerns, any areas of concern, any problems that have occurred throughout the evening? To check on the conditions of the roads, any concerns for accidents and so forth. And then the final factor is always going to be, and we always err on the side of safety for our students, safety for our faculty and staff, and just to make sure that everybody is going to be able to access the building safely and also get home safely. So that's the process that goes on. As you know, we do a one-call to let parents know. There's a number of other things that take place, such as an email to staff. A text message goes out on the one call. We contact 5 TV stations. It gets posted on the website, and I think I said email already, so I think those are all the steps that we take. I'm well aware that not everybody is going to agree with the decisions that we make, but I'm comfortable with the fact that whenever I made the decision, it's always been on the side of what is going to allow our students and everybody to be safe. To the point where I even got up at 5 o'clock this morning to see if there was snow on the ground, to see if I needed to be thinking about canceling school and contacting everybody. There was not, so I didn't have to cancel. So I just wanted to put that out there for everybody, so they know the process. It started earlier than usual. I was telling the administrators today that the phone, I feel like I'm at Foxwood in the big room, because it just keeps binging. It's like you're in the big room with the one-armed bandits. So anyways, that's the process. Just wanted to share that.
Thank you.
Okay? So that's all I have under the superintendent's report.
Okay, so now we will go to the subcommittee report.
Accounts payable.
Yeah, accounts payable.
I just had one batch on 11/8, and it was $24,072.45. That's it.
Good.
All right.
And now we have our consent agenda, so November 7th meetings, minutes. Does anybody have any questions?
I had something, yeah, I do have something that needs to be amended.
Okay.
On page 4, under the FY 2019 General Fund Budget Report, it stated that, Ms. Keegan stated that the report is done and has been sent to the auditors. But it should state, Ms. Keegan presented the General Fund Budget Report, period. And then I did state that the auditors were going to be working on the FY 2018 end-of-the-year report, and also that they were finalizing the FY 2018 Student Activity Funds report audit, and then the Student Activity Funds report. Audit. Okay. Should I say that again? Okay. The FY 2018 end-of-the-year report audit was being worked on, and then the FY 2018 Student Activity Fund audit was being completed, and then I would present it to you when they were completed. So that was it. I didn't see anything else.
Anybody?
Okay.
Make a motion to approve as amended?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the school committee meeting November 7th, 2018 as amended.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good evening. Okay, so we are on to the 2019 graduation venue.
All right, so if we could have Mr. Romano come up. He's got 2, so we're going to skip out of order real quickly, and we'll maybe ask the committee to consider the out-of-state field trip first, because that'll, I think, will be very quick, and then we can talk about the graduation venue.
So the guidance department does, about every other year, they do a field trip to the New England Institute of Technology, which is just over the border in Rhode Island. Usually it's juniors and seniors. This year they've added sophomores to the consideration as well. So they are looking for permission to bring the kids to this New England Institute of Technology. The cost of the trip, it's going to be about $550. This college reimburses us for $500, and we'll do the other $50 from, I think we're doing it from the field trips account. So it's going to cost the district a total of about $50. And the school provides them with lunch.
And they've done this, like, as Mr. Romano mentioned, quite often. It's kind of an annual pilgrimage, if you will, and it's in East Greenwich, and so we've done it quite a number of times.
So I'm looking for permission to bring my kids down there.
So I move to approve the out-of-state field trip to New England Institute of Technology in East Greenwich, Rhode Island on Friday, December 7, 2018.
Second.
Motion by Julie, second by Kelly? Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. I wasn't sure, do you want me to jump in here or not? That's all.
Very much.
Appreciate you covering for me.
All right.
And so the next item was the graduation venue, which we had talked about a couple of weeks ago. Actually, to be honest with you, we have talked about it a couple of years ago as well, as to the possibility of considering whether or not we should be looking to move the graduation to a venue that could hold a good-sized crowd, but also eliminate some of the unknown variables that we can't control here at the school. So, Josh?
So when we introduced this last time, it was suggested that I get some feedback from students and parents as to what they thought about what their preference would be. So I did a really simple survey through Google Forms. Would you rather have graduation here? Would you rather have it at Worcester State University? And I did include, these are what some of the problems have been in the past with doing graduation here. This is what the facility at Worcester State University is like. The disadvantage to doing it at Worcester State University is driving to Worcester on a Friday evening. This is how the class of 2019 students and parents broke down. 157 responses. 67% voted for Worcester State. So it's not the resounding 90% or so that I might have liked to have seen, but it's about 2-to-1 in favor of Worcester State. This went out to parents and this went out to students. And I did a one call as well to tell parents that the survey was there if they didn't get it, because I had to go individually, every senior's parents, and email it individually to each, or add each parent individually to it. So I had a couple parents who did ask me for that response as well, so that was what I got. I then sent it to just the junior students. I didn't have it in me to go through and do all the juniors' parents too. So for the class of 2020, it was 71% were in favor of Worcester State. So, there's definitely some interest in doing Worcester State.
On the seniors, I'm sorry, any split between students and parents on the responses? Are you able to
I can't break it down that way.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
We do have some images, and I actually was able to find a short video as well. So this is the facility itself. It's a brand-new facility. You can see that it has a track up above.
Yeah, nice.
Nice idea, huh?
I like that
Track.
idea.
Nice idea for a track up there. So, but that would also provide some standing room as well.
And this shot actually here, this is where you can set up your cable access.
Right.
Scott will put you up there. But you can have seating up there as well.
I like that it's blue and white too, or the blue color.
I know, it was kind of very fortunate. That was one of the things that we kind of noted right away. Well, it's the right colors. They have a backdrop that they can put up as well, but it's an extra $500. And when it's already blue, I don't really see any need to put up a backdrop, but, whoops, sorry. But that's the facility itself. And then there's...
Back here, where that WSU is, or?
Yeah, I think that's the end that the staging would be at, and then the seating in front of it, and then with the seating up above, you can fit about 1,100 people in there. And it is air-conditioned. There's plenty of parking. There's security is provided by the campus. I did check with other schools, and other schools in the area that are using off-site facilities. They are using buses to ship their students up there. So we would add that into what we factor as well. So we'd still have our bagpiper. There's a room that's available for the kids to wait in. So parents will come in, families will come in, set up, or wait. Then the students will march in, and we can do the same marching route that we do now with the bagpiper leading 2 rows. We can have them come in from opposite sides and meet. We can do whatever we want as far as that goes. So most of the actual order of graduation, nothing has to change out of that. It can be pretty much exactly the same. So we're really just looking at is doing it a different place. Today, as we were discussing, Mr. Maines did ask me to look into, well, is it available for Saturday afternoon, for example, or Saturday late morning? The idea being you kind of avoid the traffic, and then families, we have graduation, and then they go right to the barbecue or whatever that they're going to do.
What does that do to celebration graduation?
They could.
Because
Yeah.
that's reserved a year in advance, so that
So maybe
date
that's
is
something
set.
we'd have to factor in later. Yeah. So maybe we'd stick with the Friday. When is celebration graduation's lockout this year? Is it that night?
Same
Is it Friday?
night.
It's
Same night.
it's that night.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to do it Friday night.
That's what I
and have
thought,
them
is
come
you
in
don't
at
want it.
11 the next morning
There's
or
also
something.
a track meet that next day.
Yeah, there is that
Saturday,
track meet too.
So,
Oh, yeah, that's right. We have to, because that's always a factor with
yeah.
the celebration graduation.
So Saturday, yeah, because that Saturday is always.
Yeah.
And I just have a question. You said busing. Would you then bus the kids back here
Yes.
after graduation?
I think we'd have to have it available for kids. You know, I think a lot of them would probably leave with their families, but, you know,
Yeah, we'd have to have a form so
Yeah.
we know who's with
Yeah.
who, so we wouldn't have to go back. There are some other pictures, and then also
Yep.
there's just a short video, just to give everybody a real flavor of what the facility has to offer. And just as a refresher, so that's actually, yeah, so that's the building, it's brand new. That's,
Oh, it doesn't look like that could be the building, it's so narrow.
I think it's a lot, it's
Way
a
it's
deceptive picture.
Yeah, I think so too. Wide angle lens or something.
Because I think this is their smaller facility that we could have rented. The other one, which is much more expensive, but they have a much larger, like, amphitheater, I think,
Right.
that we could have, that we looked at too.
Using a different lens, that's why it's deceiving.
You can power walk while you wait for graduation to start, I guess.
So holds 1,100, what do we typically have for attendance at graduation?
ballpark of
900, yeah.
And that would be outdoors.
Yeah,
We've been able to get, I think it's in the low eights
It's
inside.
it's just about 800 when we do inside for capacity.
Yep.
But again, you know, when you have 90 to 100 kids, you have to start doling out tickets, and that becomes ugly because now they have to choose Uncle Murray or Cousin Phil, and
Yeah.
nobody wants to have to choose between Murray and Phil. So, but you know, it's a nice facility.
So if you go back to that other one, that gives you an idea as to the number of people that you can get in there and so forth, so. And as we said, it is brand new, and you can see that the seating is a little bit
Yeah, you can see.
nice, you know.
Because, yeah.
It's a little more spacious than when we pack them in.
Yeah.
Was there a video too?
Just a very short video that was on the internet as well. It's more about the whole facility, but this will give you at least a upfront look at what it has to offer. It does have audio, but I don't think it's all that.
The amp was on.
There it is.
It was overwhelming,
Sorry,
you know,
sorry.
seeing our Lancer and our apparel. Overall, I just feel the Lancer product is only going to grow from here.
Our student athletes have faced great adversity over the past 3 years. Haven't had a gym, locker room, or shower.
With the new wellness center, we've gone from probably the least privileged athletes to the most privileged. It's also incredible.
So that's
for
the grounds.
prospective student athletes to walk through here. see
That's
a
the actual
competition gym,
exterior, so it's really nice, brand new.
room, still
I mean, I don't anticipate that we're gonna be lifting weights or anything, but I just want you to see what they had to offer.
Hey, maybe we could do that at the same time.
Sure.
as well as admissions.
We'll make all the kids do pull-ups before they go out.
That's right.
Sort of recreate that warm temperature that they're used to at graduation.
That's right outside of it, and, so, I mean, it's, as I said, it's a multi-million-dollar building that just opened up. It's only been open for, I believe, a year. So, just to give you an idea. Thanks, Scott.
Spots to hang out, and even just different ways for students to connect outside of just the typical classroom setting.
Okay.
So we need to make a decision? Is that what we need to do?
Well, I mean, I think you might want to discuss it a little bit, but, you know, I mean, this is not something that, I mean, from my standpoint, that we've taken lightly, because we know that there's a tradition here. We know that the Friday is when they've always held it. You know, if we can get outside, it is nice outside, nice venue, but there are still obstacles in play there, which is accessing the field, especially for older viewers, those who might be handicapped. That has always been sort of a problem, the concern with the shuttle buses back and forth. Not a perfect solution, but still, as I said, there's been, when you're able to get outside, we work really hard to make it a really nice event. And indoors, I think we all know that when you're indoors, we try to get the kids as many tickets as possible. To do that, things are kind of tight. To try to get as many tickets that we can to kids. It is very hot. There's no question about it. I still think it's a nice ceremony indoors. I really do, and I think that you can still enjoy the graduation inside and so forth. But again, it's not something that, that we take lightly. We know it's a change, and I'm glad that Josh did a quick survey that gives us some feedback on it, and I don't know if there's other feedback that we want to.
So can you just, I do support it, just having been to graduation before, and I think it's a great venue, personally. But as far as Friday night goes, how does that traditionally go? So the kids go, they do their graduation thing, and then you're saying that there's a...
Yeah, and that's actually one thing. Now, I'll say right up front, it doesn't matter where graduation is. I'm going to cry my way through it this year. There's no question. So whether it's there or here, it doesn't matter. I have been getting a lot of feedback, and I think because I am a senior parent, so, well, I feel old to saying that, but, and that is one of the questions, is that usually they do graduation, everybody takes pictures or whatever, and then they have to be back here for celebration graduation.
That's usually
10
around
o'clock.
10 o'clock for the 11 o'clock?
So one of the concerns that's been brought up to me is if you add the travel time for this, that it's already kind of tight to, you do graduation, you take your pictures with your friends, everybody does their thing here afterwards, because everybody hangs out for half an hour or so and takes pictures. And then to try to get to dinner with your family or something like that, and to get back here for 10, it's already kind of tight. So that was one question that was brought up to me was, well, we barely have time to go out now, and this is from parents who've done it before, obviously. So that doesn't leave us much time to get back from Worcester, go somewhere to eat, or even go somewhere to eat in Worcester, and to get back here, let the kids get home, get changed, get ready for the night, and be back here for 10 o'clock.
At least you have one less travel, if you're already in Worcester to go out to eat, right?
Right, but
I think it's nice
I think a
when
lot of
it's
people
a
tend to
Monday.
go,
But
not
I'm
go
not
to
in the
Worcester,
commission.
just because you're already working on a
Like
tight
Mulberry.
time schedule, and your kids want to get home and changed and get their bag of stuff for the night.
Can they change that time to 10:30?
Probably not,
The-
a little late
Yeah,
to do that.
it's reserved pretty well early, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they
In
book that a year in advance. We always book it the year, like this year, we will leave the deposit for next year because there are other schools that have been trying to take that date away from us at Pins. So, I mean, there's always the option of going somewhere other than Pins, doing it another night, but you would have to know that well in
Yeah,
advance.
you'd have to know.
But could you still do 11 o'clock, though, even though, I know you paid and you signed up for 10, but would it harm anything to do it at 11?
I'm not in charge of that committee. I'm just a warm
It'd
body
be
on it.
interesting to
so,
explore, just out of curiosity.
I don't know at this point.
If that had any impact.
But that's one of the feedbacks that I've been getting is that,
And one of the things that we discussed this morning at our admin meeting was the idea of, could we come up with the idea of moving it from Friday to Saturday, or even if you have to move it from Friday to Sunday, that you could use that Friday as a class field day type of thing, or, one of the other things we talked about is the Spirit of Boston cruise in the harbor. That's a nice event as well, where everybody can get together that one more time, and so make the Friday night still have meaning and purpose, and just move the graduation to a different date and time and so forth. So, and I don't know whether or not the Celebration graduation can do Saturday the next year or not, but
I would
Just
think,
curious, but-
certainly to look, something they could look into.
And so the goal there was to add something else in for the Friday to make it, the kids still, so it's Tuesday night is class night, Wednesday night is, baccalaureate, no, baccalaureate is, baccalaureate's Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday.
Am I getting this?
Senior picnic's Wednesday and
Senior
Tuesday.
picnic on Wednesday, right. So, and then
busy
baccalaureate
week.
Thursday, and then,
It's a
so you'd
busy
have
week.
something on Friday, and then you would have the graduation.
So then you have graduation at 6,
5:30.
5:30, then,
Right
and
now it's at
traffic is
5:30.
not, I mean, I go through Worcester every day almost, and I feel like in the summertime it lessens a little bit going in, but you never know. So then you get into Worcester, so it's 5:30, then you're done around what, 6:30, 7:30?
Yeah, how long do you think you'll?
About an
It's an hour.
It's an hour, yeah.
Yeah.
It's an hour. Maybe
So let's
an hour
just
and
say
10
you
minutes.
wrap it up by 7 with talking and
Yeah.
all that, and then you go out.
Right, but if you're busing the kids back here, it'll be 7:30 easy before they get back. And you have to expect at least some of the kids would come back on the bus.
Right.
I don't know, the responses I've been getting have been primarily negative, that the idea is great, but the location isn't. I think if it was changed to Saturday or Sunday, that would be a whole different ballgame.
Well, I can pursue it then. So between now and then, I had also called Worcester State, and they said that we can do a deposit and they'll refund it as long as we give them like a good 2 months notice. And we're still at about the 7-month notice, so we're okay for right now. So
So there's no harm right now in.
in locking
two
in
things,
it
Is exploring whether they have availability on
Saturday or
Saturday or Sunday, whatever the case may be.
So
The issue is going to be that they're still going to
Yeah, I
have
think
that
for this
lockdown.
year, that would be difficult
Right.
because celebration graduation
Right.
is already booked
and the track meet. So we need to make sure that
and
we
there is a track meet Saturday.
we don't
yeah.
want our best track runners to miss out on.
So I think that just
graduate.
basically the issue right now is just the logistics on Friday night. I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds like Friday night is what we have to do with, and if it doesn't work out, obviously, or if there's things that we have to work through, then for next year, we can plan differently, but
So my
Yeah.
thought
this
was
year is
that
a
if it's
little
a
bit
Friday
more.
night, I would think maybe bump it from 5:30 to 6 o'clock just to give a little bit more time. Now, that does shorten the time on the
That
other
shortens the
side,
turnover
but-
That makes it
yeah.
even harder for,
Yeah.
yeah.
But getting there at 5:30 might be challenging.
And I don't think you want to make it any earlier because people are working. And,
Right.
yeah.
I just worry, you get one accident on that 146 construction zone and people are gonna miss it, that,
Yeah.
But it's like that either way, because if you're coming from work, you're still having to go through Worcester. Like when I came back, I had to go through Worcester to get there. I don't know, just trying to look at the
Well,
other end.
to me, I got to be honest, I'm torn because having been here now for 9 years and experienced 9 graduations, I think either way, I still think it's a nice event. But I don't think that by going to a different venue that it will be any less of an event. I think it will still be a nice event. I still think it'll be a memory, a keepsake for the kids, and I think that they'll. I just think that it's a good choice of venue for us with the parking and the air conditioning, and it being a brand new facility. There's a lot of positives there. So. I suppose the situation is that you could simply vote to authorize a deposit for right now on the Friday night. We have time to come back and revisit it.
Well, I
the
don't know.
money-
It
the
doesn't,
money's
sound.
refundable.
It sounds like it has to be a Friday, and I think what the issue is just the logistics of how it's all going to come together as far as timing. That's really what it is.
I mean, because I think I think the idea, the reasons behind moving it are sound. I mean, the air conditioning, the accessibility, the parking, all of that. I just, like I've said, I just don't know that this is the place to do it because it is a 40-minute drive to the other side of Worcester. But like I said, if you were telling me it was going to be Saturday or Sunday and you weren't going to have to deal with traffic, I would probably be a little more amenable. And I kind of have to go with what I've heard, and what I've heard is people saying, I don't want to drive there. I don't want to fight the traffic, and I don't want to have to be rushed afterwards.
Maybe
so-
we can look into charter buses for everybody.
If,
Or busing.
if it was a case of moving graduation to Sunday or something, then, but then you have to,
I think regardless,
with
you're gonna
celebration
get
graduation.
kickback.
There's gonna be some
You're not gonna be able to
population
please
that's not-
There's no
everybody.
question that there's going to be angst on
Oh,
either side of the
Yep.
coin. If we don't move it, they're going to want to know why you didn't. And
Yep.
So just to give some perspective, there are a number of schools in the area that are now going to other venues just because of either for accessibility or the fact that they are air-conditioned. So it's not something that we're inventing. It's being done. It's been done for a number of years in some of the area schools. We have, in all honesty, talked about it for a couple of years because of the uncertainty of the weather at that time of the year. You just never know, and you can't win for losing, basically, is what happens. You go outside, and if it's bad, then we have that problem. And so you air to be on the inside, because if you look at the people that are coming to that event, it's babies to great-grandparents. So you've got that wide swath of ages and accessibility issues. Getting to that field is not always the easiest thing to do.
And if you bet wrong on and do it outdoors, you ruin graduation. If you bet wrong and you do it indoors, well, it's hot, but you survive.
But you still had graduation.
You know,
have
and-
to bring your chairs in and shut all the electricity down and,
Right.
and try to start all over again.
And to Mr. Main's point about, like, you're always gonna have somebody who's unhappy, but like the whole, just to sort of remind anybody that like the reason that we even looked into this is because every year there are so many complaints. So you are kind of getting both sides, like the same people who are complaining about how hot it is and how crowded it is are also the ones saying, but this is our tradition. So it's kind of you're sort of torn between two things. Yes, we love our traditions, but if your tradition comes with a lot of things that you need to complain about, and then that we wouldn't be looking at this if we weren't hearing so many vocal complaints every year. So, it's a solution to those problems. If the tradition is more important than solving those problems, I get that. That's fine. But we need to stop complaining about the heat and stuff if we're not going to go with another solution.
So to the point of Worcester State, why Worcester State? We did reach out to Bryant, we did reach out to Mechanics Hall, we did reach out to the Hanover.
Nichols.
Assumption, Holy Cross, and just nobody, either they didn't have a venue big enough to hold us, or they didn't have availability for us.
Nichols would have been ideal, but I think they do their graduation, they rent a big tent.
Because and we looked, by the way, years ago, we looked into renting a big tent, and the idea was, well, the rain doesn't always come straight down, sometimes it comes sideways, and how are you going to guarantee that you're going to get all 1,100 people into the tent and so forth, and so on. So,
Yeah. So I can still look at if Saturday or Sunday are feasible. I don't. I
But
can
then
look at
I think,
Right, but this year, I don't know.
People probably already have that date set
Yeah.
aside too, at this point, I would imagine.
Is the track meet we're
well,
talking
you're
about
7 months
always-
away, I mean, so.
And the
it's not-
track meets on Saturday.
Is that always the day after graduation, I guess, that track meet?
Yeah, it's always that
Yeah,
first
usually-
week.
Saturday's never really gonna work.
Usually graduation is the first
On
Saturday,
Sunday,
in-
some people
the first
don't.
Friday in June, so it's all states the next day. This year,
Yeah.
it's worse because it's
Make a
states the
decision
next day,
now.
which is even more kids.
Yeah.
I think we could question this upside down, inside out, over and over, and there's going to be something in the way regardless of what we do. And,
Well, my recommendation would be, let's secure the venue, it's a refundable deposit.
yeah.
Let's secure the venue, let's continue to discuss it, but I would say, let's try to decide by January. And
Yeah, I was
and
gonna-
at
I was
this
gonna
point,
say
I
end
don't
of
know how
February,
else,
but, yeah.
I mean, Josh has already done a survey, I don't know how else we would get additional feedback, but
Well, there isn't really,
There's nothing, I mean, I don't know what else I don't know what we're gonna change. I think, again, going back to the whole thing of logistics, whoever's in charge of all this, they're just gonna have to figure out, like, look at the timing of everything
Yep.
and try to make sure everything will work with pins if they have to, look into additional busing if we need to, if people are uncomfortable driving, explore what it would cost.
we can't bus
Well,
people.
explore, like, maybe give.
Kids only.
Who knows, there could be we could offer some
you
sort
have
of
to
option.
ensure that the kids are there, so.
The
that-
kids
and-
are being
kids
bused,
have-
People
yes.
could pay for it,
Kids,
I'm just throwing out
And
random
ultimately,
ideas.
if this is something where kids and parents just resoundingly don't want this, then I'll drop it the second that I see that. The survey I did, 2-1 in favor of Worcester State, but that, again, that might not be people who were thinking about that turnaround between graduation and,
Right,
For that,
if you
you know.
haven't done graduation before, I don't think that's something
you don't
that
necessarily
really
know all the moving
matters.
parts, yeah.
Yeah, so I think, it might be worth a,
We can hold an open meeting if you want and see if anybody
can.
shows.
well, yeah, I was gonna just.
I could do a more detailed
one.
survey.
I was gonna say, it might be worth a more detailed survey or more detailed letter home that outlines, I think you did a good job outlining the cons of keeping it here. maybe it's some more of the pros and the cons
Yeah.
of moving it.
I hadn't been thinking about the
And some of the other things that might
celebration graduation.
just, maybe not even a
turnover.
con, but just things that people need to know about. Okay, celebration graduation also happens that night.
Yeah.
Timing might be an issue. Those, lay out those things and get some more feedback.
So
But-
if it works itself out, in the feeling is that it's not something that's doable this year, as Courtney was just mentioning, is it something that we secure it for the following year and say, listen, graduation is now going to be on a Saturday,
Well, that's what I was going to recommend. is
1
Sunday.
o'clock?
Yeah, and that way we can work around celebrate, because, they're gonna have to do the same thing again this year, is reserve it.
Because of the, there's
But
always.
the issue with
one,
that is, if we
28.
do that, then you're going to be outside trying to get people to the graduation, and some of us in the audience who have been to maybe 1, 2, or 3 graduations over the years know that it can be a challenge for us to get everybody to where they need to get to. Although we've done it, and it's been a nice event, and we're never going to go out. Josh has already had his first taste of it. We're never going to go out if there's a threat of rain, and if it doesn't rain, and everybody can point fingers, that's okay. But you can't change it, you can't, there's no do-over if it rains.
Yeah,
So you just can't take the chance.
Yeah.
So inside is always going to be a possibility. People have to understand that, if that's the case, and that's limited tickets. I think we gave 7 to kids this year. I think it was 7. So, here you might be able to give 11 or 12 tickets if it's at Worcester State. If it's outside, come one, come all. But if
Yeah,
it's not,
I think it would be good to lay out all of those things and probably a more detailed.
So I can do a more detailed survey and get it out to parents and see, parents and kids and see what they
But
think.
I think, I don't see the harm in, putting the deposit now and making a final decision
Yeah.
come, end of January.
I think, we also have to, consider that, you're trying to please how many families?
it's like
100.
one
And
call
people need to make
to cancel
adjustments where they
school.
need to make adjustments. You can't please everybody. It's
Yeah.
not gonna happen.
Can't win.
Because I do recognize that, it was 2-1 in favor of Worcester State, but that the people in the one group, they might really hate the idea of Worcester State. I get
Or the other
that
one where
too.
it's like, yeah,
Well, and
wow.
I'd be curious how many of those were parents and how many were students, because
Yeah.
I think if it's shiny and new. Teenagers love shiny and new.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
so,
what I
hey.
want the breakdown. was, so.
Whereas the parents might be the ones going.
Well, there's also, I think if you survey the kids and you said hey, you don't have to come to graduation, a lot of the kids would say, all right, I'm not going.
Yeah.
But if you survey their parents will say, yes, you are going.
Yeah, that's what
and
I've always better
when
just
kids are reluctant to
parents
go to
survey.
graduation, I always tell them, you're not doing this for you. You're doing this for your family. You're doing this for your parents. You're doing this
I'm
for great-grandma.
interested to know what the process is in other districts, how they transferred over, whether they just made the decision on their own and didn't ask for feedback, or,
My sense is that I think they probably just made their own decision. However, I don't think they made it in isolation, because, and to be honest with you, we can simply make it on our own. But being a small school and wanting to try to do the best we can for everybody, we've kind of always have done that. But I think everybody has to understand that the final decision will rest with us. But we're willing to listen to their feedback. We're willing to engage in conversation about it. But the final decision will still be ours.
And
If
we-
we think it's best to go there, we go there.
And we didn't actually do this in isolation. I mean, Josh, I think, sounds like there's been a lot of work done already. I mean, a lot of investigative work and
well,
calling
it's on the
around.
agenda, and it has been the last 2
Yeah.
times.
To
so.
some extent, it's like when a lot of schools have gone through the going to one gown for all genders.
Which we did
And
4 years ago.
And the same thing, the first year everybody's up in arms, and then the second year everybody kind of forgets that you used to do it some other way.
Well, plus, if it's a nice event and the venue is something that they really enjoy, it'll go away very quickly, because they say, listen, we've got this place and we can secure it year after year. I'm sure. So
But I think there are more obstacles maybe to this year. There's more logistics that we needed to
Yeah.
consider that.
Well, I just
know.
think if you're planning it out, like I said, you look at the track schedule and the celebration graduation and all that.
And factor all of that in. Yeah.
Because the Friday night in Worcester is just
Oh, yeah.
obviously a little more difficult than a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
So.
and we have pretty good participation at that track meet. I don't know the
We
exact
do,
number,
yeah.
This
but-
year,
Well, it'll
it
be
will be
more.
more so because it's a week earlier. So this year, it is states.
one round earlier.
Instead of All
states.
states, all states is usually just a handful of kids. States is,
Like, all states last year was 3 kids,
Right.
but when you're talking states, it could be a dozen. You know.
Oh, could be more than that.
there were 3 seniors last year. There were
Well,
4
that's what I
kids.
meant. 3 seniors. Yeah, there were 3 seniors.
But yeah, the state meet will have,
6
So you
to
can
8.
Most
solve a
of
lot
the
problems
kids.
by simply moving it all to, another solution, radical as it might be, is to move baccalaureate to Wednesday and do graduation on Thursday, which we had talked about. Because baccalaureate is easy to move. That's
I believe the
what I'm-
facility is available on Thursday because they offered it to us to do dress rehearsal. So,
But even going forward, you could do that if you wanted to, instead of, but
no.
Do people usually do graduations like on a Thursday?
there's some on Thursdays, yep. And some on Sundays,
What?
Yeah, some do it Wednesday night.
some are Sundays. I mean, there's a lot of options.
Valley Tech's always been Thursday.
Yeah.
I think it
think-
might be
I
hard
think
to
Grafton is
change for
Thursday
this
as
year
well.
if people are already, people
get it.
have already made plans.
Yeah, it's the same
Another-
thing.
just
It's-
another
But it is,
down the
it is a
road.
good way to avoid that weekend problem.
or at least that Friday night problem.
They just
Any
another
public
day.
comment? I know, Leslie, you probably came here for this topic, I'm assuming, so anything you want to share? I don't want to put you on the spot, but. Now's the
Probably wanted to
time.
make sure that I wasn't just ramming it down everybody's throat, which I'm not. I totally will drop
Do
it
we-
if
I was
people are
gonna
really
say, do we
aggressive.
need her at a mic?
I won't, I don't think anybody else in the audience is going to be upset about it. Just don't trip on the,
No, you've addressed some of it, but to start with, the other schools are doing it. I don't kind of let my kids say, well, all the other kids are doing it, so that's not really a good one for me.
right, it's not, but it's not a driving force either. I'm just saying that other schools, the question was, are other schools doing that? Well, yes, some other schools are doing that.
Well, and I know sometimes if we all of a sudden had 150, 180 kids
Yep.
in the grade, I could get that.
Yep.
Our classes are smaller than they were even, 2014, I think, was our biggest one. I've been to inside graduations. I've been coming to graduations since before the school opened. I've been to inside, I've been to outside. Last year's inside is the first time, it was a fiasco last year, I think, with being told when to come to line up and all. That's never happened before, and I think it made it more of an issue. It used to be just doors were open, you went in, sat down. It stinks when it's inside, but I've been in an overflow room for it, for our first one back when we were small enough to hold it in the auditorium. But the family, especially on a Friday or on a weeknight and going to Worcester, I think of people having to get out of work that much earlier
Yep.
to get home, get changed, to get to Worcester to the kids' graduation versus just being here. Personally, if my husband wasn't available, I would not have gotten to any of my kids' graduations if it was in Worcester. I wouldn't take a bus and I wouldn't get in there. And I'm sure there's other people that have issues that would be similar. You addressed student transportation. We don't go to eat in Worcester. Harder to go out to eat in Worcester on a Friday night too. So if you have it there and you're saying, well, families can go have their dinner there, the chances of being in a long waiting line on a Friday night at a restaurant in Worcester are far greater than, like, we happen to go to Milford, but like Milford, Webster, you're not going to get the same wait times that you would, and then you run into that problem. You could push celebration graduation back, but that's an expensive proposition, and then that's less time the kids have. So, is it an event then that, is the hypnotist shorter? Like, what things that they're doing? And especially if we have kids that are doing states or something that can't stay the whole night because of it. Saturday's always the track meet. The survey I found a little to lay out, these are all the problems and here's this nice new thing.
But those are all the things that people legitimately complained to me about. So, like, I'm offering a solution to things that people were beating me up for last year and that Mr. Maines got beat up for 8 years. So I think it is legit to say, I hear all these things that people are yelling at me about, and yelling is not an exaggeration. So I'm offering a solution. Like, I have no stick in this fight. I'll do it any place. But if people are going to complain about this, well, I'm offering you something.
Right, but just putting that piece,
So-
and especially if somebody hasn't done graduation before, they just say, oh, we have all these problems in Douglas. We need to do this. So I like when Brett was saying, kind of lay out what more of the considerations are.
Okay. But I mean, again, I wouldn't
kind of
even be
thing.
pursuing this if people hadn't been yelling at me in the parking lot last year about all these things about weather and everything else. So I think it is fair to
Right.
say, these are the things that people complain to me about, so this is the reason I put the effort into doing this. Again, it doesn't matter to me. I did a year and a half in Iraq. I can sit in that auditorium. I can sit in the gym. It's no big deal to me. But it was, if I'm offering, if people are coming to me with a complaint, I'm going to try to find a solution. So that's why that included all that stuff.
And so.
Yeah, I'd
But again,
just
I'll
like to
if
see.
people don't want it, then I'll
Right.
drop it. It's not.
Well, that's the concern. So just
Yeah.
to a couple of Leslie's points. The first one was that we always had a time in which you could enter the building and a time in which we would open the auditorium, only because, from having been around here, they'll be here at 1 o'clock to make sure that they're the first one in line to get in that front row. So we've always had that type of thing. Being indoors is hot, it's cramped, it's very difficult. Being outside and having it rain and having somebody's great-grandmother have to get to the car is very difficult as well. It's sort of a no-win situation. As to families in their dinner and so forth, I think it's important, but I don't think that we should determine what we're going to do as to where people are going to go out to eat, although I get the point. It's a continuation of the evening, whether they can get into a restaurant in Worcester or they have to go to Westboro or whatever it might be. But to Josh's point, you just can't win. And the angst that comes out of it, the emails that we receive, the phone calls that we receive, the people who would love to make the decision for us, it's bad enough having to try to make the decision and make the right decision, but when you finally commit and we vacillate and we wait till the very last minute, but when you finally make the decision and the phone starts ringing immediately, and emails start coming in immediately, it's a little bit fatiguing, if I can say that. And-
Oh, I totally get that, and I know.
And so can we find a solution?
I know it's a tough.
That addresses that will, and I think, to your first point, was that we never did talk about this because, hey, the Joneses are going to Hanover Theater. That wasn't really what we talked about. This has always been based on the fact that it is always such a frustrating and difficult day. And when you make that decision, now all of a sudden, some people who were going to go to graduation can't go to graduation because it's indoors, and I only have, and then the ticket swapping takes place, and all the other stuff. So
And then the sun comes out to our.
right, and then the sun comes out, and they want to take me out. And
This is
and
the
put me in
only year I've
stocks.
seen that happen when it's been inside, though.
It happened the year before.
It
too.
happened in
It
my
happened the year
son's
before. It did. It's a beautiful night.
Yep.
I watched him go through it.
But it rained all around
Be the
us.
same.
It was a torrential rain in Burrillville and in Pasco, and it was bright sun here.
It
in
was
Douglas.
actually, there was torrential rain during graduation on the soccer field last year, but it was only
In the soccer field.
on the soccer field.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I understand what Leslie's saying is that we've done it here, but universally, if 50% of the time is that you're going to be inside, no one likes it inside. Although I didn't mind it, I got to be honest.
I was gonna say, I sat through an indoor graduation.
I just
and-
would have liked to see graduated seating in there for the
Right.
for the graduates. That would have made.
So to be honest with you, we had looked at that. We don't have enough staging to get them all up there. And that was one of the things that years ago we had talked about, maybe buying some additional staging. You probably remember all of that conversations, and I think you were on the committee when we were talking about it. But we sort of got away from it for just because of the expense, because it's just not cheap.
It's right at the worst time.
But you're right. If you could elevate rows 2, 3, 4, and 5 a little bit, it would be also beneficial, which is something we could look into as well. But it's always going to be hot. There's just no two ways about it. It's always going to be hot if it's indoors. Even with those fans, and we tried to shut the fans off because it's noisy.
It's very loud.
So,
And we also have to look at the safety concerns, because just because we've never had a safety issue, I'm thinking more accessibility. It's going to happen one of these days, and we're going to get a liability suit. That's how I'm thinking, forward thinking on that, is the liability behind everything. Yeah, it's worked great before, but that doesn't mean next year it won't.
yeah. And we could avoid that by giving fewer tickets, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
Which,
we don't want to
so
do
your
that.
point is well taken, that, you do have 4 exits, but when you have, 900, 800 people in the gym, getting them all out in an expedient time would be challenging, although there are double doors at to the walkway, but, yeah, it would be challenging.
Yeah, it just feels at some point we're going to have to make some move. Again, maybe this year it feels quick, but, maybe
There is
the
another
best
solution. We
option-
could air condition our gym.
work on someone on the capital committee.
That on the, I was just gonna say,
So-
yeah.
For the one day we're going to use it.
Yeah.
Be nice if
But
all the
I
gyms could be
I just
air
think at the very least, we need to do a better job of letting folks know everything that's involved with a potential move. Knowing that celebration graduation is happening, all the different logistics, and make sure that's laid out for everybody so they can make as well-informed a kind of decision as possible.
If we could get the facility for Sunday or late Saturday, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock Saturday, is that
Track
something that
probably
we
runs
could
all
work?
day though, right?
Yeah.
They can't do any other day,
Especially
it
on
sounds like
Sunday.
it's only
Very-
Friday or Thursday that we could do at this point.
Not
So it
Sunday.
would have to be a Sunday or a Thursday.
Or Sunday?
Yeah, we
No,
could do
because that
Sunday.
wouldn't work for celebration graduation then, right?
Well,
Well,
you
they
could,
still
you
have the
could look
night.
into doing celebration graduation on Sunday night. I mean, it's just a matter of reserving whatever night you want. It's just
But
that
it'd be
for this
cheaper.
year.
Right, I'm talking this
Oh,
year.
we mean
For
like
this year, it's
Okay,
already
it's
booked
done,
and there's
right.
nothing we can do
So
about
for
it.
this year, it's either Thursday or Friday at this point.
Right, okay. But
Well, and that's
celebration
what it sounds
graduation
like.
might be cheaper if it's not a weekend night, too.
Right,
But for this year.
For this year, though, I think you would find a drop-off if it's not the night of graduation. I think you would find a drop-off in the people that
And you don't
attend.
want that. That's pretty important to
And
have
we want
people
as
go.
many kids to participate in this
Yeah.
as possible.
So one of the things that I thought is that we would have had more people here tonight, because it is a change. It is breaking with what has been the process in the past. So I guess I would ask the question, and maybe Leslie, you can chime in on this. If we did an open forum, do you think that parents and students would show up?
They have to be made aware that it's going
Yep.
on. So like
So-
in your newsletter,
right.
and the same, I think
Right.
the survey really, I saw it because I asked to see it. Just asking the senior parents,
I would ask
You know,
senior and juniors.
yeah,
Is
I
what I
mean,
would-
I'd go through, because my daughter, who's a junior, was asked, and of course, she loves everything bright and shiny.
Right.
But the junior parents weren't. But I think it would have to be, if it was in the blog or something.
Well, I would want to do it sooner rather than later.
I mean, so just to put it out there, it is, you are talking about 3 hours worth of my time to email it to every parent.
Right.
Like literally.
I mean, did you get any feedback of anybody
You
saying,
can't
I
do a-
don't,
You can't do a parent
The,
email.
the survey
You did a
didn't-
survey.
There
No,
was
it's
no,
on the
there was
blog.
no way to
On the
comment
blog,
on
you
the
can.
survey.
Yeah.
Put it on the blog. We can send a letter
The
home.
link.
did anybody comment after the survey individually to you of like, this is ridiculous, why are we doing this?
No, I didn't get anything really aggressive like that. I got, yeah, that's a nice facility, or
Didn't you do a survey?
I got a, why are we looking to change this? And then I said the same thing. I said, well, people bring up these concerns.
Well, I mean, we can ask Donna if there's a way to
Yeah.
get an email blast out to get everybody easier and so forth. My question would be,
The-
at
the
least
one-
at that
the
point,
one-call list.
we've done our due diligence and provided an opportunity to discuss it, and then we'll make our decision.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
one
we'll
calls
find a
by
way
the
to get
entire
it.
school, though, not by a particular class, right? Or
Right,
is
but
it-
the one call, well, you could just do the
Right.
high school though.
Yes, you can. Yep.
So,
Yep.
Yeah.
more feedback
So just
isn't.
put it, like,
And
put it on the
I
blog and
honestly
say,
don't know that
hey,
people
go
really
onto the
thought
blog
of
and do this.
But you could do
coming
a
tonight to
one-call
giving their
email
opinions.
to
I don't
just
know
the
if
high
it was
school
really clear that that was a
They're
Right.
signed up for it.
possibility, because you know.
Post a again, send something home, public hearing in regards to if we think it's worth all that.
I think we move forward and put the deposit down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yep.
yeah, so
Because
I
it's
guess,
refundable.
I'm not sure we've had any new discussion in the last few minutes, so just want to look for a motion to at least put the deposit down for now, and with the idea of revisiting and finalizing the decision before January 31st. Does that sound agreeable to everyone?
Makes sense to me.
Yeah. And in the meantime, there'll be further exploration
Yeah, I'll look at Thursday.
Yeah, surveys.
on
Sunday was no good,
options
right?
as well as further,
Thursday or Friday, it sounds
Yeah.
like, for this year.
We can look at other options, but I think we should
yeah.
give the public.
But I think the
an
other part
opportunity.
is the further information on what moving would mean and,
Right.
you know, further opportunity for
Regardless
comment.
of the venue,
So,
what moving would mean,
Right.
yeah.
so I'll look for a motion on just the deposit first piece, I guess.
I'll make a motion to
Approve.
deposit for Worcester State for graduation,
To secure the venue, yeah.
to secure it.
Okay.
Second?
Motion from Jillian, second from Julie. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Okay, and then I think our ask of you, Josh, is just to
I'll keep looking.
Yeah.
Next Wednesday's good.
Okay.
further explore some Thursday, Sunday, Saturday options or whatever, you know, whatever you think, whatever you think is appropriate, as well
Yeah.
as,
We'll look next year, as we look at next year, you know, we'll bring in,
Thursday and Friday.
if we figure out who's gonna be running up celebration graduation next year.
I can tell you who'll be running.
Lisa
the
volunteered.
celebration
I'll be on it.
Graduation next year.
I'll be on it,
And
but
so
the
we can
sooner,
have
the
them-
sooner the better.
Yeah.
Representative.
and can we, and we should even, you know, be looking at venues for next year at this point. Maybe you can get
I
some
wasn't
more
thinking about the
convenient.
quick turnover for celebration graduation, I wasn't thinking about the families, you know, because I
Yeah.
see like they all smile and take their picture with me.
Right. I mean,
In the
historically, that has been the
bright
case.
outside the
They
auditorium.
graduate, some families go out for dinner, then they come, then they double back, and
Yeah.
then they make the night
I
of it.
wasn't thinking that
Yeah.
routine that families are doing there.
But you're right, it may be that celebration graduation would be cheaper, easier to get on a different day than a Friday night, too, so.
So, can we ask you to kind of put additional information out
I
to
will, yeah, I definitely
the
will.
junior and senior parents around just the entire graduation process, I guess, and what moving might mean to all of that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Some of the other, the difficulties that are.
And then we'll specifically towards early January, maybe our first meeting in January. When is our first meeting in January? Is it like
I think it's the, yeah,
the third? It's like right after. Have a public
second or
hearing
the
as part of
third?
that meeting
it's the second.
on this? It's the second, right?
Second.
Yeah.
We might want to do it the next one.
So the
Yeah,
16th.
so the 16th
So
would
on
be
the
the next.
16th, we'll have a
Yep.
public, so is that too late? If that's, that should be all right.
No,
No.
On the 16th, we'll have a public hearing as part of our meeting to discuss.
I don't think you'll
Graduation
get too much
venue.
on the second, and
Yeah.
and if you try to do it late in December, you won't get.
Yeah. So if we could, you know, that week or the week before, again, send something home that, you know, there'll be a public hearing as part of school committee, you know, again, maybe through a one call or whatever it might be, and, you know, so we can, you know,
Josh,
get
you
some
said
folks
2
here to
months they
discuss it.
wanted to know what,
So-
they wanted, how much?
Yeah, I think it was 2 months.
Yeah, so, I
So
mean,
it
if
sounds
you
like
if
we
you
have
make a
to
decision in
think-
February,
I think-
with
Yeah, you don't want to push it off that far, though, so I think January.
Yeah, so, yeah.
One question I did have is, I just was wondering, from the video and from the pictures, your thoughts on the venue as a viable.
Oh, the specific venue
Oh,
looks,
I
I
think
think
it
looks
great.
great.
Looks
You know,
great.
again, the location
Yep.
isn't ideal.
Yep.
I think, you know, can you find some things that are more convenient, like a Bryant or something? If you look out, you know, into 2020, class of 2020 or whatnot. But I think for this year, I think, yeah.
Okay, good.
I don't know,
All
that's my
right,
thought.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm good with it.
Okay.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you.
Had you guys already done minutes before I
Yes.
arrived? Okay, excellent.
So just transfers and
Moving on
reclasses.
to Ms. Keegan.
Okay, so I do have some transfers this evening, basically just taking care of items that needed to be addressed in the general fund budget, everything except for salaries. We're finalizing the encumbrances, and then I will be coming with a very large transfer request after that, and then we'll get, once Jean gets all those posted, we'll have everything moved around. So this is just the expenses, not salary lines. Any questions?
No?
Budgetary spelled wrong.
Excuse me.
Budgetary spelled wrong.
The budgeter or?
Yeah, well, hey, it's my week.
Budgetary.
Budger. There must have been a little Freudian thing going on there.
Yeah. Okay. Look for a motion on our budgetary transfer number 4.
That's funny.
I'll make a motion to approve FY 2018 budgetary transfers number 4 and school committee meeting November 20th, 2018.
Motion from
I think he
Jillian,
jumps off the page
Second.
at me.
second from Kelly. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Okay.
Then we have reclassifications. And this is, I believe, reclassifications. Oh, boy, it's been quite the week. Okay, number 4. So these are, we're moving from general fund to the circuit breaker. Salaries, these are the ones that were recently, that you approved.
Yeah.
The first few went into the general fund, and then we're moving them over to the circuit breaker. Because that was a funding source. Of course, at the end of the year, I might end up having to move them back, but that's the way it is.
So is the next, the second from the bottom, is that also a circuit breaker account?
Oh, no.
No, so that one's
No,
not.
that's just moving,
Okay.
that is from, oh, that's an account thing.
Yeah, the
That's
names
because
are-
you see the 2325?
Yeah.
For DESE chart of accounts, that used to be long and short-term substitutes were in the same function code.
Okay.
And DESE changed it to 2324, and Ellen just missed that one
All right.
there. You know, because unfortunately, those are all still there, so
Okay,
it slipped and got put in there, the one from the past.
sounds good. Questions? No? Looking for a motion on our reclassifications?
I'll make a motion to approve FY 2019 reclassification school committee meeting November 20th, 2018.
Motion from Jillian. Second from Lisa. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. All right, thank you. And with that, any topics not anticipated? And we do not need executive session at this time. Next meetings will be December 5th and December 19th. So December 2nd isn't going to be an issue for, I'm assuming?
January 2nd?
Or January 2nd, rather?
I might not be here.
Okay.
January 2nd.
Do we need to have a January 2nd meeting?
That's Wednesday.
We'll be into budget, I
Yes.
think. So I think our schedule is the 2nd and the 16th.
2nd and 16th is
Yeah.
what we're scheduled for, yes.
So if for some reason the 2nd became an issue, you know, you could always go 9th and 16th, or 16th and 23rd, I guess. And then in February, we only meet once, is that?
School vacation.
School vacation.
Yep.
Yeah, so I wouldn't want to shorten January to 1, so I'd want to move one of those if the 2nd became an issue. So just something to keep in mind, you know. as
Maybe you could
we move
explore
forward
it
here.
and take a vote at the next meeting to change the dates to the 9th and the 23rd as opposed to
Yeah.
the 2nd and the 16th if you wanted to.
Yeah, move both of them, so we're still every other week, and, yeah, just do that for the 1 month. Yeah, so why don't we give it some thought, and we'll discuss that at the next meeting.
Okay. Very good. Need a motion
If there's
to
nothing
adjourn?
else, looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn
Second.
from Julie at 8:04, seconded by Jillian. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, we're good. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.